Okay, so picture this. It's Sunday night, you're sitting at your kitchen table, bank statements spread everywhere, calculator out, maybe a glass of wine because honestly you need it, and you're trying to figure out where the heck your money went this month. You know you didn't go crazy, you didn't buy anything wild, but somehow, some way, you're staring at a number that does not match what you thought you had. And the worst part? This isn't the first time this has happened. It's like every single month, money just disappears and you have no idea where it went. If that sounds familiar, if you have ever felt like you are working really hard, making decent money, and still feeling financially stuck, then this video is going to hit different for you. Because I was that person, and then AI changed everything about how I manage my money, and not in the way you're probably thinking. My name is Alexa, and I spend way too much time thinking about personal finance systems and why the ones most people use are completely failing them. If you're someone who feels like you're doing all the right things, but still can't seem to get ahead, still can't save consistently, still feels anxious every time you check your bank account, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today I want to talk about something that genuinely shifted the way I think about money management. And it started with me being frustrated enough to try something I honestly thought was kind of gimmicky. Here's the thing. The way most of us manage our money was designed for a completely different era. We're using budgeting methods that were created in the 1950s. Envelope budgets, zero-based budgeting, the 50-30-20 rule, and we're applying them to financial lives that are infinitely more complicated than anything our grandparents dealt with. Think about it. The average American in 2024 has multiple income streams, subscription services across dozens of platforms, student loans, variable utility bills, gig economy side income, credit card reward systems, investment accounts, HSAs, FSAs. The complexity is staggering. And yet, the advice we get is still basically write down what you spend, put money in envelopes, don't buy lattes. Look, I love a good latte analogy as much as the next person, but let's be honest, the latte is not why you're broke, and deep down, you already know that.
Here's what most people don't realize. The problem isn't that you lack discipline. The problem is that you're trying to manage a 2025 financial life with a 1975 system. And the cognitive load of doing that, manually tracking, manually categorizing, manually calculating, is so exhausting that most people just give up.
And I have the stats to back this up. A study from the National Endowment for Financial Education found that nearly 60% of Americans don't use any kind of budget. Not because they don't care, but because budgeting, as it's traditionally been taught, is genuinely unsustainable for most people's lives. And here's the kicker. Even among people who do budget, a bank rate survey found that 65% say they still feel financially anxious on a regular basis. So the traditional system isn't even working for the people who are using it. Something is broken, and I think AI might actually be the fix. But not for the reasons most financial influencers are talking about. When I first started hearing about people using AI for their finances, I had a very specific image in my head. I pictured someone asking ChatGPT, should I invest in Tesla, and getting some generic response about doing their own research. Or I pictured some overhyped robo-advisor that would charge me fees to put my money in index funds I could have just bought myself. And honestly, that skepticism was valid, because a lot of what gets marketed as AI financial tools is not that impressive. But here's where it gets really interesting. That's not actually how the most effective use of AI in personal finance works at all. The real power of AI in money management isn't about getting investment picks or having a robot track your spending. It's about something way more fundamental. It's about understanding yourself. Now you might be thinking, Alexa, I don't need a psychology lesson. I need a budget that works. I hear you, But stick with me for a second, because this is the piece that changes everything.
There's a concept in behavioral economics called present bias, and it's the reason that even when you know what you should do with money, you consistently don't do it. Present bias is your brain's tendency to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future ones, even when the future ones are objectively, mathematically better. And this isn't a character flaw. This is literally how human brains are wired. We evolved to prioritize the berry in front of us over the possibility of berries next week. Here's what that looks like in real life with real numbers. Let's say you have $400 sitting in your checking account at the end of the month. You know you should put it toward your credit card debt. Let's say you're carrying $5,000 at 24% APR, which, by the way, is almost exactly the current average credit card interest rate in the US right now.
The math is simple. Every month you don't pay that down, you're paying about $100 in interest. Over a year, that's $1,200 just gone, evaporated, paying for the privilege of owing money. Your brain knows this, and yet that $400 is sitting there, and there's this thing you want to buy. Or honestly, you just don't transfer the money fast enough, and somehow it gets absorbed into your spending before you ever make the intentional decision. This is present bias in action, and no spreadsheet fixes this. No budgeting app fixes this, because the problem isn't informational, the problem is behavioral, and this is where AI actually becomes a game changer. Okay, so let me tell you exactly what I started doing, because I want this to be practical.
About 8 months ago, I was going through one of those "where did all my money go" months I described at the beginning of this video. And in a moment of genuine frustration, I opened up a conversation with an AI assistant, and I just started talking about my money. Not asking for investment advice, not asking it to build me a spreadsheet. I just started explaining my financial situation like I was talking to a really smart friend who happened to know a lot about money. And what happened surprised me. The AI started asking me questions I had never asked myself. When you say you feel financially stuck, what does that actually mean to you? Is it that you don't have savings? Is it that you feel like you can't afford things you want? Is it anxiety about the future? And as I answered those questions, I started realizing something. I didn't actually have a clear picture of what I was working toward. I had vague goals: save more, get out of debt, build an emergency fund, but nothing concrete, nothing with numbers attached, nothing with timelines. Here's the thing about vague goals: they produce vague behavior. If your goal is to save more, then technically putting $5 in a savings account is achieving your goal. Your brain lets you off the hook. But when I worked through a conversation with AI and came out the other side with a goal like, I want $12,000 in a high-yield savings account by March of next year, which means I need to save $1,000 a month for 12 months, which means my savings transfer has to happen on the 2nd of every month before I can see that money sitting in my checking account, suddenly I had something real. A study from the Dominican University of California found that people who write down specific goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. Specificity matters more than motivation. So let me break this down into the 3 actual concrete ways I changed how I manage my money because of AI. AI as a financial thinking partner, not a calculator. Every month, I have what I call a money conversation. I pull up my bank statements, my credit card statements, my investment account, everything, and I just have a conversation about where I am. I describe the month, what happened, what I spent, what surprised me. For example, I noticed after doing this for a few months that my overspending almost always happened in one specific category, food and dining, and almost always in the last week of the month. Once I could see that pattern, I could address it. Now I do a quick check-in every 3rd week of the month, specifically around my food spending. Just a gut check. Takes 5 minutes. Completely changed my relationship with that budget category.
2. Stress testing financial decisions. Whenever I'm about to make a significant financial decision, anything over a few $100s, I talk it through with AI before I do it.
not to get permission, but to think through the full picture. Real example. I was thinking about leasing a new car at $380 per month. That felt manageable, but when I walked through the full picture with AI, I realized I was only thinking about the monthly payment. Opportunity cost, $380 per month invested for 3 years at 7% average return equals approximately $15,000. Total lease cost, 380 times 36 months equals $13,680, plus insurance increases, plus mileage fees, and at the end, I own nothing. The comparison? My paid-off car costs $200 per month in maintenance and insurance. I was about to nearly double my transportation costs. I did not get the new car. That conversation took 15 minutes and saved me thousands of dollars over 3 years. Number 3, building systems around your actual psychology. I basically confessed all my financial bad habits to an AI. I avoid checking accounts when stressed. I impulse spend when bored or lonely. I avoid complicated financial tasks. And instead of judgment, I got systems designed around those exact patterns. Avoid checking accounts when stressed. Automated transfers for every important financial movement. Impulse spend when bored. 48-hour rule for any purchase over $50 that isn't planned. Avoid complicated tasks. Monthly 1-hour money dates on the first Sunday of the month. Just one task. Achievable, not overwhelming. Here's what most people don't realize when it comes to AI and money. The technology is not the breakthrough. The breakthrough is that AI gives you a non-judgmental space to be completely honest about your financial reality. And that honesty, that's what actually changes behavior.
Think about how most financial conversations go. You talk to a financial advisor, there's a power dynamic. You feel judged, you soften the truth. I spend a little too much on going out. Translation, you spent $800 at restaurants last month and you're embarrassed. But when you're typing into an AI, something different happens. You tell the truth because there's no one to impress, no one to disappoint. A study by Shlomo Benartzi at UCLA found that people who have an accurate picture of their current financial situation, even if that picture is bad, make significantly better financial decisions going forward. Knowing your real numbers, even when they're painful, is the foundation of change. AI makes that honest accounting easier to do than anything else I found.
Now, you might be thinking, Alexa, isn't this just a fancy way of saying I should be more disciplined? And look, kind of, but also no. Discipline is overrated in personal finance. If discipline were the answer, the 40% of Americans who can't cover a $400 emergency expense wouldn't include millions of people who are highly disciplined in every other area of their lives. Discipline fails under stress. Systems don't. You might also be thinking, I don't want AI knowing all my financial details. That feels like a privacy risk. That's a fair concern. You do not have to share account numbers, social security numbers, or anything that could be used to access your accounts. You can have highly effective financial conversations using general numbers, categories, and patterns without any personally identifying financial information.
So here's what I want you to actually do after this video. Tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, open whatever AI tool you have access to. Start a conversation with this exact prompt. I want to get honest about my financial situation. I'm going to describe where I am right now, and I want you to help me figure out what my actual priorities should be and what's getting in the way. Don't sugarcoat anything. Then just talk. Tell it your income. Tell it your rough monthly expenses. Tell it what you're avoiding. Tell it what you're scared of. Tell it what you've tried that hasn't worked. After that initial conversation, come back and do this. Ask the AI to help you identify the single most impactful financial move you could make in the next 30 days. One move. The highest leverage thing you could do right now.
Maybe setting up an automatic transfer to a high-yield savings account. Maybe calling your credit card company to negotiate your interest rate. A 2023 Lending Tree survey found that 76% of cardholders who asked for a lower rate got one. Finally, signing up for your employer's 401k match, which, if you're not doing it, is literally leaving free money on the table. Here's the bottom line. Managing money in 2025 is genuinely complicated. The systems most of us were taught don't account for how complex our financial lives actually are, and they don't account for human psychology. They assume we'll just be rational, and we're not. None of us are. That's not a failure. That's just being human.
But the gap between where you are and where you want to be financially is almost never a knowledge gap. You probably know you should be saving more. You probably know high interest debt is bad. You probably have a sense of what you should be doing. The gap is a systems gap. And AI, used thoughtfully, is one of the best tools I found for building systems that actually account for who you really are, not who you wish you were on your most disciplined day. I'm not saying AI is magic. I'm not saying it replaces good financial advice or hard work or real trade-offs, but I am saying it changed how I manage my money in a real measurable way, and I think it can do the same for you. Give it a try, and let me know in the comments what comes up when you have that first honest money conversation, because I genuinely want to know. I'll see you in the next one.